And we are back for our optional session. This is all for our MICIP administrators. And again, like I mentioned in the last session, that doesn't mean that you are an administrator. It may be in your building. It's for the people that have that role of MICIP administrator. And we're going to be all about how to get connected, and how to add schools, and how to add the staff. And we will also be talking about assigning staff roles. So I forgot to mention that part. Oh, I just realized that my video was off. How unkind. All right, there we go. So really the stuff that we're going to be going over today is all available in the MICIP platform guide. So earlier we spent a lot of time in the process guide, and this one we're going to be spending our time in the platform guide. So there really isn't anything too crazy that we're going to be going over today that might not already be available to you in the platform guide, but hopefully we can kind of walk through with examples. This session is definitely treated more as a bit of an open forum, not so much as presentation time. So we will walk through some items, but it's really just kind of trying to hear, you know, what successes and challenges have people had. Where are you right now with this? What more do you need with it? I'm kind of at this point going to divide this a little bit into two groups. And so Tom Johnson is with us. I'll have him introduce himself here in a minute. One group, I'm going to open it up for anybody that that would answer no or I don't know to these first two questions. So question one is, are you federated? And so if your answer is what's federated, or I don't know what that is, or I know for sure that I'm not, then I'm going to have you go to a breakout with Tom. And then the second question is, have you at this point successfully been able to log into MICIP? And if the answer is no, or I don't know to either of those questions, then I'm going to actually have you go into a breakout room with Tom. And Tom is going to go over some of the technical details about how to do that. There will probably be some things that you can do. There might also be some things that you need your tech person to do, but Tom will be able to go over that. There's lots of great resources on how to do that. I've worked with several people successfully to get through that process. So I know you can do it. But we are going to kind of divide the group up. And so if you answered no or I don't know to those questions, I am going to have you go with Tom here in a minute. And we are recording the session, so you won't be missing the other part. So for everybody that stays in here with us, then we're going to actually open up MICIP. We're going to get into Dearborn's MICIP. So Hilda's are you ready? You warmed up? You got your clicker fingers ready?
I have administrator rights now, so I
can
actually tell you what you need to see.
So if you stay in the room with us, we're just going to kind of go through, we're going to show you the administrator settings in a district. And if anybody wants to see administrator settings for an ISD, I'll log into ours as well. But so yeah, we're gonna talk about adding schools. We're going to talk about how to add outside ISD support and what situations that might come up with. We'll talk about how to add staff, and we'll talk about some of the staff roles. So that's going to be kind of the two different spots. At this point, Tom, can you just pop on, introduce yourself, and just if there's anything that you wanted to say to the whole group before we see how many people might be joining you in the other room?
Sure. Thanks, Dave. Hi, my name's Tom Johnson. I am co-product owner with Terry and the MICIP platform. I also work with the Michigan Data Hub team. And so coming in today is really kind of me blending both roles because the Data Hub's Launchpad is what we use for the single sign-in to log in. We'll talk through kind of some of the process and some of the big barriers we've seen people run into, and then really try and take your issues kind of head on the best we can. Dave, I'm also going to have Wendy and Kevin from our team around 11 are going to try and join. So if somebody could keep an eye out for them and move them into the breakout room, that would be great. So they can really help with technical support on the single sign-in setup.
Sounds good.
And I'm bummed I'm not going to be able to watch the other session live because I'd love to see how that goes. But I might see if I can get the recording.
Yep, we'll definitely have the recording. It's just going to be all posted right on our dashboard. So
cool.
All right. So with that, I'm going to open up. Oh, before we do that, Tara just had a question in chat that I think would be worth addressing with the whole group. Wondering about if someone is not yet a MICIP administrator. And so Tom, can I take a crack at that first, and then you can fill in the blanks? So that actually happened with me. So I'm not a superintendent, and so the initial mailings about this went out to our superintendents. And so there were kind of directions in there. And so I talked to my superintendent and I asked if I could be a MICIP administrator. And so basically what I did was I contacted the MICIP help desk and just kind of, I went that route, and that was how I was able to become a MICIP administrator. So, but Tom, if there's a different or better route that you could to go with on that, go for it.
No, Dave, I think that's probably the way to go. And at that point, the help desk will connect with Rennie at the department to do that setup. MDE is the only one that can actually set up a MICIP administrator in the system, and they need superintendent approval to do that. So I think you took exactly the right path. And of course, when you do that ticket, make sure you reference where you're from and that your email's in there, so they know what to get set up when they reach out to the soup and get that approval.
All right. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to open a room. I've set it so that you can choose your own breakout room. And so everybody's going to get the option, I hope, if I did this right, to go to a room that's called Login Help Room. If you don't want to go to that room, I believe that you'll just be able to click out of that. And if that is something that you would like to do, then you'll pop in there and you'll be in the room with Tom. And if you don't get that pop up and you need to get into that room, just unmute and let me know, and I can put you in the room with Tom. So I'm going to open that up and give everybody just a few minutes to get situated with that. And I believe you might, if you are going to be going into that room, you might have to click down at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to stop the share. There's a breakout room button should have popped up, and you should be able to go ahead and join that. And Tom, I see you have some takers in the room.
Great, except I didn't get the breakout room pop up.
So hopefully down at the bottom, you do have a spot that says breakout rooms.
Yep, okay, there it is. Login help room, there we go. Got it.
All
Thanks,
right,
Dave.
sure thing.
Hey, it's working. Yay.
All right. I love it when a plan comes together. All right, is there anybody that needed to get into that room that was not able to do that? I can also assign you into that room. You can either put that in.
Suzanne Grambush, I don't see that option.
All right, Suzanne. There you go. Hopefully that worked for you. Anybody else can just either unmute or put it in chat. All right. Okay, I am going to just see if Hilda could go ahead and share her screen.
I can. Where would you like me to start? At the login screen, or?
I'd say go ahead and just.
That's where I'm at right now, at micip.org.
All right, go ahead and log in.
All right.
All right, excellent. So, so basically, when you become a MICIP administrator, if you're not already, when you click on your name up where it says Hi Hilda, one of the things there is administrator settings. And so we're going to be spending our whole time there in administrator settings. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to kind of walk through those 4 items that I talked about: adding schools, adding ISD support, adding staff, and then assigning staff roles. I'm going to kind of go through each one of those. And as we go along, I'm totally open to, at this point, if anybody wants to unmute to ask any questions, or if you just want to pop questions into chat, if that's easier for you, you can do that. And Frank can kind of keep an eye on the chat for us to see if there's anything in chat that pops up. And we do have Terry's here with us, so she can hopefully help out with any questions as well. So just going to kind of walk through kind of this first step. So the first step is about getting your district built. And so you'll see that that's the first tab there under administrator settings. It says district builder. So there's those kind of 4 different tabs you can go to. And when you start out on the district builder, your schools will not be there. And you have 2 options about how to get your schools in. One is you can do an import from the EEM. And I would recommend that if you have a large district. So Hilda's district has 34 schools in it. So for their district, I thought, this would probably be a great idea for them to do the data import. And there are directions about how to do that in the MICIP platform guide. I'm not going to walk through every single step of that, other than to say, when you follow those steps in the MICIP platform guide, it will download the whole state. So it downloads the whole state data. So if you were to look at the data file and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to import every single school in the whole state, that doesn't happen. That's going to be there, but MICIP's going to know which of those belong to you. So you would go to the EEM, you download this data file, you drop the data file in, and it will build your schools from that aspect.
Dave, can I add one more thing?
Please.
Do not peek in that file before you upload it, because if you do, Excel likes to change things. And so then you'll have a failed upload. So just have faith that it's looking at your district code and just upload it as the CSV. No peeking.
That is a very great thought. And a lot of times when you do uploads, not just for this, but for lots of other purposes, if you open things up, just like Terry said, what it'll do is it'll take away leading zeros. So if you look at Bryant Middle School here at Dearborn, the entity code is 00432. And Excel will say, oh, you don't need those zeros at the beginning of that. And they'll take those zeros off, and then it just doesn't work. So yes, and that's the case with lots of file uploads. So it's not just a quirk of MICIP. It's definitely something that happens other places. Yeah, Kim, that might have been something that happened with you.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so that is pro tip number 1 for the day is if you do the big data file upload, then make sure that you don't open the file before you do the upload.
Quick question.
Please.
Can we do the file upload if we're impersonating someone? Like I am ISD administrator, so if I want to do this for my supers, will it work?
Yes, it will work. Because when you impersonate someone, you impersonate all of them.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
Kevin, we'll get you in there. Just one sec.
Hey, thanks much.
No problem. Just one second here. All right, there you go. All right, so again, this is all, this is in the platform guide. The platform guide is linked in the dashboard, and the district builder spot starts on page 10 of the guide, of the platform guide. And it walks right through how to download stuff from the EEM, where to go in the EEM, which buttons to click, and all that sort of stuff. Let's see, looks like we have another spot that needs to pop over. Sorry, I'm gonna get one other person assigned over.
Hilda, are you going to talk about subunits?
Do you want me to? Dave, are we going to get that far? We haven't addressed that, honestly, I know in Dearborn. So if you want to,
Yeah, Terry, go ahead.
please.
Okay, so if we, let's go to Lindbergh
Sure.
Elementary and click edit.
Edit. Okay.
Okay, so in some of your situations, particularly in ISDs, for example, you may have a subunit. Why didn't it come up? We don't want to edit the unit. I apologize. No,
Oh, the
I
plus
think
sign?
yeah, I
Plus
think you
sign?
want to go to the plus sign. Yep. You may have programs that are in your elementary. So let's say, for example, Lindbergh is hosting a Montessori school or a Montessori program, and it has an EEM code. So if Hilda would click on the add new subunit, then what will happen is then you will manually add that. Couple of things to look for is if you go under type, you'll see that if she scrolls down, it's much more than just school buildings, but we're talking facilities, and then below that are actual programs. So that way you can, if you're one that has to include like a preschool in your planning, you can do that right here. If you click off that, then you want to make sure that the EEM code is exact. And then it's always 5 digits. And then the last one is always, I think, the silly question, which is it open or closed? Of course it's open. That's why you're here to open it. So I just want to add that. I didn't know if you were, and Dave, that may be a new add-on in the platform guide that we're going to have to edit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
All right. So, so that is one way to get them added, is to do the big file upload. Oh, Liz has her hand up. Go ahead, Liz.
Would that only be done if you have a separate EEM code?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to make sure. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, great clarifying question. So that's one way to get our buildings into our district, is through the EEM upload. You can also manually add them, and you do that by Hilda, if you could just click that add new unit. Don't worry, you won't end up with a new school.
Okay, well, the more the merrier.
Yeah, I mean, you already have 34. What's another one? So, and here is where you're able to type in the name. Again, you select the type, very similar to what was there before. And the only thing that you really have to be cautious with here is that you make sure that you enter in the correct entity code. And again, paying attention to those leading zeros and that sort of thing. So at my ISD, I have just 3 ISD schools that I needed to add. And so I didn't do the data upload. I came in and I just added them by hand, and it worked fine. But in either event, when you do that, you can go ahead and close that, Hilda. When you do that, you get your list of schools. And if you're in a large school or in a large district like Dearborn, you can actually, you can filter over on the left side. So I'm guessing that everything that you have in your district is open and active, so that won't try to change things. But if you click on middle school, then it's just going to pop up, and we'll just see the middle schools at Dearborn. So that just kind of, this one, you're really not going to have to spend much time on this screen after you get it established. It's pretty much set. So unless a building closes or a building opens, or those sorts of things, something changes from a closed school to an open school, you're probably not going to have to do too much here. The reason that this screen is so important is because when you get to the area where you can add strategies, you're going to need to know which building you're adding the strategies to. So this really does, it's not just for funsies. you're gonna need to have all this information to successfully run the whole process. All right, any other questions about the district builder before I talk about the next one, which is ISD support? All right, let's go over to ISD support. So when you go to ISD support, it will automatically know which ISD your district is in. And so you do not need to add your ISD to MICIP. What this is for is if you are working with a consultant in another ISD. So right now, Mike and I do a lot of crosswork. Mike and Doug Greer and I do a lot of crosswork between Ottawa ISD and Muskegon ISD. So I have had some of the ISDs in Ottawa ISD add me as they added the Muskegon ISD as support. And then I'm able to see them on my dashboard, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. And I know that we had Tara had asked to see if we could see that ISD admin side. We'll make sure I'll pop over and I'll show you what that looks like. But basically what this does.
Dave, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Did they create the username and password, or not the password, but their local email versus your Muskegon email, correct?
So what you don't add individuals, you add the ISD, right? And so so when they add the ISD support, basically it's as if Muskegon ISD is another entity that can support them. Terry, did I say that correctly?
You did. So Mike, so there's you and Doug, right, that are in Ottawa, and let's say with Dave's people that they add your Ottawa support here. So when Hilda hits add support ISD, then what will happen is she'll search for Ottawa, and everyone on the Ottawa team that supports schools will see that. So it's not an individual, but it's the entire support team.
I guess I was thinking about that impersonation function. If you could not impersonate unless you are set up within their own email within the local district.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you have to have a unique email. So whether it's local or we have had some very creative ways at an ISD level to create various emails. So yes, try a capital O, Hilda.
What it is. I'm like,
Yeah.
there it is.
There it is.
And so it's super simple. You can add it and then delete it, Hilda, if you want. You don't have to.
Like I
All
said,
right,
the
thank
more
you.
support, the better. I'll set everyone on here.
So that's really what that ISD support piece is. If you don't have people at other ISDs supporting your district, sometimes we have small ISDs and or you have collaborative ISDs, sort of like what's between Muskegon and Ottawa. There definitely could be the case that you need to add some ISD support. But if you're just working within your own ISD, you don't need to do anything with this button. All right, let's go to user management, everybody's favorite spot. So this is where we add all of our users. And Terry, I was looking through the practice guide for this, and the platform guide for this. I wasn't able to find it. Can you talk about what the import users button does? Because it doesn't do what it sounds like it does.
No, and it's because right now that we're not fully integrated with the data hub. So that was created for the data hub. So Hilda, if you would click on import. So very much like your district builder, you would go into the data hub and pull through MyDex, the MyDex interface staff. And so then what would happen is available users will become populated in the left box below. And then you can simply tag the people who will be going into having some kind of level of permissions in MICIP in the right box. So everyone shows up in terms, yeah, you're getting that because right now.
It doesn't exist.
It does exist. Look at
Ooh,
that.
look at that.
How did you do that, Hilda? That's amazing.
All I hit was, I don't know what I did. But I'm looking at this list. I see teachers on here. I see, like district employees, instructional. Yeah, this is the entire.
It's everyone. And so you want to be careful.
Yes.
How you want to do this. If you do it, let's do it when it's low traffic. What you could do is to go in and import everyone. And if it's easier to delete or move people over on the other side, because you'll have more people wanted to be in MICIP than maybe out, then you can do that. Hilda, how did you do it? Because
I didn't do anything. An error button came up. I just hit clear and then it loaded.
Well,
I
Okay,
didn't do any. Can I ask, when does this list get updated? Because I see district staff on here that have left the district over a year ago.
yeah, so that's part of the MyDex integration.
Okay.
So I'm wondering here if we have, I wish one of my developers were on because they would probably find this fascinating. Live TV, people, you never know what you're going to get.
Oh, totally.
But this may be something that you've used from your SIS before. And so it's connecting that
I see.
through your My Launchpad and your access to My Launchpad. So
it's interesting. This was not working for us. And like Dave knows, we were struggling to, because we added in all our administrators. This was not happening properly. We were missing people. So we went ahead and manually entered our admin in to make sure. But now it's working, it seems like.
okay.
So that's great.
So I would say if this appears to be very alpha feature,
Yeah.
I would recommend doing this a different way, which I'm about to go over. But I did want to talk about that, if you can go ahead and close that, Hilda. I want to talk about the import users button because when I first got into it, I kind of thought that that would work like importing the buildings did, right? Where you could upload like a CSV file or that sort of thing. And so I wanted to just kind of see, that really has to do with your data hub integration. And I think at this point, a lot of that will have to do of what your district and ISD might have done at this point to be set up with data hub integration. And if your SIS is flowing with the data hub and all those sorts of things. So, but that's actually not what my recommendation is at this point. So my recommendation right now is that you do create the users manually. And it's a very, very easy process. You just put in their first, last name and their email address. And then you can go in and you can select their roles. By creating the users and putting their email address in, if your district is federated, so like what we talked about earlier, if your district's federated, there's nothing else that user needs to do. They just now have an account. So they don't need to make an account. They don't need to say yes to something. They just have an account and they'll be able to log in. And so this worked fantastically for all of the people that I work with. I see that Cassandra has her hand up.
I do, and I just sent Terry a desperate chat. We have been communicating via email, and it has been a help, huge help to get as far as we've gotten, but our district is still not able to log on to the platform at all. I actually jumped off this call to see about meeting with the superintendent to see, can she log on? I'm the district proxy, but when I log on, I don't have a badge. We just recently did federation. So when you go onto My Launchpad, our district shows up. But we really want to get onto the platform so that we can start engaging with the platform and also adding on our admin. And I just don't know what to do. I've been in contact with MDE, Oakland Schools. Help.
No, we can help, and I can do that offline with you. So I've been seeing your emails go back and forth from Rennie. So while we're on the call right now, let me go ahead and see what I can see on my end, and then we can do this offline. Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so glad I was able to hop back into this. Going back. I think I know where the answers are. Okay. Thank you.
Terry and Tom will take care of you. I just know it. All right. I see another hand up.
Hi, my name is Basha.
Hi there.
Hi there. Quick question for you. My name is misspelled in MICIP, and can I adjust that?
I can.
Okay. I'll send you a message. Is that okay, Terry?
Perfect. I would love to do that.
Excellent. Thank you. So when it comes to this creating users, like I said, it's very easy. You type the name in, you put in their email address, and because it's looking at that domain that at Dearborn Schools, then it just uses their login credentials. So you don't have to make a new password. You don't have to do all that stuff. That's what all the work of getting federated that Tom's over in the other room helping people with, that's what it does for you, right?
You want to mention, Dave, that you have to be logged into your district account with the whole, like, if you're using Chrome or Safari. I mean, I know that was an issue for some. They were using like their personal
Yes, yes. Okay, so yes, let me say again, like if you get a login screen, then you do need to put in your login credentials, but it will be the same login credentials that you log into Google with. So
Yes,
or
don't be on your personal Google account and try to log into this, because the two won't match and it won't let you in.
Another point too to recommend everybody too. Just recently, our ISD changed over our email addresses, and so formerly I was fholes@Allegan. It became frank.holes. That threw all kinds of wrenches into trying to log in to MICIP. So if by chance you have had that happen to you, you need to make sure that you're going in under what was originally put into the system.
Okay, so I do want to talk about roles a little bit. As for the permissions that Hilda has, basically all of us, we can basically make people district users, and so we can't assign other MICIP administrators. So this is what I was talking about earlier. If say that your superintendent is the administrator, but you really need to be the administrator, then just go through the MICIP help desk, and I'm going to add that MICIP help desk link to our dashboard. Just go through the MICIP help desk and work through the help desk to get yourself added as an administrator. So we can't make other people administrators. That has to happen through MDE. So the roles that you're going to be able to assign is you're going to be able to make people district users. If you're at the ISD, you can also you have a couple other functions that I'll talk about here in a second. But then below, it shows all of the different permissions that you can grant that user. And I am not going to go over what each of those mean. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. For most people, just being able to view the district portfolio is probably going to be sufficient. I don't recommend broadly giving edit access or open close access to everybody. Just basically trying to think of who is it that really needs to have those things, who's going to be able to update strategies, activities, those sorts of things. All of those will be important when it comes to assigning individuals to certain activities or tasks. And so we'll be talking more about that in sessions, well, maybe 2, but for sure 3. But the permissions that you give people at this step will allow them to do different things at different steps. And the platform guide goes into really nice detail about what each of those permissions does for you. So again, I'm not going to go over each of those individually. Mostly wanted you to know that this is where you assign those, and the defaults to everybody being able to view the portfolio. So Frank, Hilda, or Terry, Mike, anything that anybody would add about the permissions?
Basically, the main thing is it does not act as a Google Doc, which means you can write over somebody, and then once that's saved, that becomes the permanent record. So anything that you do outside, I would suggest using the templates before having 1 or 2 people actually input it into the MICIP system.
Yeah, I agree. I think, there's, especially now as we're just kind of learning the system and being able to get things in there, to just have people added as view access and then adding additional permissions as it becomes necessary, I think might be the way to go. All right, Hilda, I think we're all set for looking at the district. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, and we'll look at the ISD, and it looks just a little bit different. Okay, so when you log in, if you're at an ISD, things look a little bit different. You have, you can see all of your LEA or PSAs that are assigned to you, and you can actually get right into any of your districts, and you can see how they're doing with MICIP. So this is where you can get in and support where before it was a little bit more difficult to do that. There's also, you can filter once we get a little bit more into things. I think this will start becoming important next year. You can kind of get in and start to filter by where are they with their goals. So are they on target? Are they approaching? Are things starting to come due? So you can start to filter by all those different pieces. But very handy to be able to come in, just a really nice dashboard to be able to see all of the LEAs and PSAs that you support. This portfolio is really where you can start to build your own. So like at our ISD, we have 3 ISD schools. And at an upcoming optional session that's specifically for ISD folks, we're going to talk about maybe some of the different ways that you can, as an ISD, how you can set up your MICIP for your schools. So that's just kind of some general pieces, but I'm going to go over to the administrator settings. So it works just the same as at the buildings. You come over to administrator settings. And so you can see these are my 3 ISD schools that I have. So you'll notice that the one change here is that there's not a spot for ISD support because we're the ISD. So there's not a spot for ISD support. So you can't, the district has to be the one that initiates that process, right? So you can't say, I want to support the school in another county or another ISD. The district has to be the one to initiate that. One other thing that I wanted to share that was a little bit different is about users. So for me, I can only assign ISD users. However, oh, where'd that impersonate button go? I know it's around here somewhere.
It's in the ad, you have to go to user management and select the person that you want to do.
Oh, okay. So
do you want to get out of Muskegon and go to one of your assigned districts to impersonate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then just click on your Muskegon area ISD. Just put your cursor in there and click, and all of your assigned districts will pop
Perfect. All right. So I'm pretty sure that, yes. So one of our districts here has a lot of people in here. And so then this is where if I were to open that person, I can impersonate them from that screen. Is that correct, Terry?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is one of the principals there, and I can impersonate that user. So that's where the impersonation part comes in.
And if
thanks for that quick walkthrough, Terry. I totally spaced out how to do that.
Don't leave that screen yet. So what Dave is, if he scrolls down to the permissions, he can only do what this person can do. So this person doesn't have all the box checked. So if he's trying to come in and do something that, like submit a plan for the district, he won't be able to do that because this person he's impersonating cannot do that.
So, yeah, so that's just, I kind of wanted to show those were the main things that are different about being in the ISD. And I really like that. Thanks for that reminder about where I knew that impersonation was around someplace. So, but yeah, so these are my administrators or my users that I have at my ISD. These are basically all the program leads for the buildings, and that's just where we're starting with that. And they basically all just have view access. And as I need to add more access to them as we get to the part of being able to complete plans and those sorts of things, then we'll start to add permissions at that point.
Mm-hmm. And where we're on this page, Dave, do you want to talk about deactivation?
Yes.
Okay.
So so down here we have the deactivate button, and so this is kind of nice because it doesn't delete the user, and you're able to then reactivate them later. So sometimes for whatever reason they might need to get deactivated, so maybe they leave. You can just deactivate the people as they go to other locations. We've had circumstances where people come back to jobs and you can just reactivate them and those sorts of things. The good thing about the deactivation, I think that it keeps, let's see, does that make it so if they're assigned to a role somewhere, yes, that's where this becomes important. So Terry, maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. And that's really key, because if we deactivate and you have some ownership in plans at strategy or activity levels, no one's then supervising them, right? So what will happen if you click out of this box, please, and down below, you will see the deactivation area. That person's name who you've deactivated will pop up if they have ownership somewhere in the plan. So you simply would just click on their name, a new screen will appear, that person's name will be there, and then it will show you where those ownership spots are. So then all you have to do is, from a pull-down menu, is reassign that and hit confirm. So you'll always be able to, as an administrator, manage your owners of strategies and activities.
All right, looks like we might have, we're getting real near the end of our session, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop. And looks like we do have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say a couple of questions in the chat. So Stephanie has a junior, senior high school, and it's a new unit that they're adding on the district builder, and it's either or, they can't choose both. So how do they do that when they're adding them as a school?
We're gonna have to add a new code is what we're gonna have to do. So if you wanna pick one or the other, that's fine. And we also have other, that's another choice you have under buildings, under schools. So I'll make note of that, and we can definitely add that option.
And then Shelley wanted to know, for an ISD center-based school, what should the access be for the administrator? We do not need them to have access to the local district plans.
Okay, so Shelley, I think what you're looking at here is the administrator, is the ISD administrator? I don't see you on the screen. If you can.
So I'm the ISD administrator, but we have a principal designated to that center-based school. And so trying to get them set up within the MICIP platform, so they too can be doing planning for that center-based school within the MICIP platform, but not knowing like what access do I give him? You know, is he just a user versus an admin?
Just a user. And that was really confusing in the beginning, because I think a lot of districts just added every administrator as a MICIP administrator. And what a MICIP administrator does is one thing, and that is manage roles and functions. That's it. So if you're part of an administrative team that's part of the continuous improvement team, they could be a user, but then they might have all the functions that are available underneath when you assign them. So you always want to make sure that if someone is a contributing member, that they have the edits and the creates and any of those type of actions in the function boxes. So for some districts, and I don't know if anyone's from like Grand Rapids, actually Hilda, your Dearborn is pretty large. You may have someone in your continuous improvement process that approves all the plans. They're the last one to say, yes, that's where we're going. Then you might want to only assign that person with the submit plan function only, so that nobody else can add that. So Dave mentioned, you know, the roles and functions. You can check, we publish those in the platform guide to really as a description, or I think we have it in one of the continuous communications newsletter. But go over those functions and say, is this what we have? So do not make everyone an administrator, because you don't need everyone to manage the people that are in the you want them to help manage plans and create plans.
And I do see Cassandra has her name up. Maybe we have time for one more question.
I just wanted to confirm, because thank you so much. I'm on the platform. There is a God. I'm so happy. MICIP gods. So I'm on the platform now, and I see that I am a district administrator. The superintendent is also a district administrator.
Yes.
To create user, when I create user, that is where I'm able to select a role. The only role I see is district role.
And that's the only one you can assign. So you are district user, your role as an admin is to assign users in the MICIP platform. And MICIP users' roles can be anything from, they can see the district plan only, to the extreme where they can create and make decisions and submit plans and edit evaluations and everything. So it's there's a whole spectrum of roles and functions. Now, and any administrator, whether it's an ISD and district, or actually at the state, MD is the one that assigns those roles. So if you have, like Cassandra, if your district wants to add one more administrator, because I would always suggest that a district have at least two, because that, in case somebody is not available to do that, then all I need is an email from the superintendent stating that they would like that person added on.
Okay.
It's easy.
And Cassandra, if once you click that button that says district user, then it will give you all the options for the roles down below.
Got it. Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
All right.
All right, so I want to honor everybody's time, and I just really appreciate everybody being here today. This was recorded if you need to share it with anybody, and I will get the recordings put up on our dashboard hopefully later today, if not at least by tomorrow. And other than that, I really look forward to seeing everybody in a couple of weeks. And thank you very, very much to our co-facilitators and for Terry being here today. And I'm going to go check on Tom and make sure that he's doing okay over in the breakout room.